Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Ringside Wrestling Entertainment. This is Joel Perez here, and today we're going to be talking WrestleMania 34. Yes, the big event, which is only 1 week away at the point that I am talking to you, and most of the card for WrestleMania 34. It's safe to say, I think all of the card, besides one specific match, is fully fleshed out. We pretty much have the full deck for WrestleMania 34, and I'm not gonna lie to you, it's looking pretty good, despite the hiccups in the build to this pay-per-view, because WWE seems to suffer when it comes to telling stories, but as far as looking at this pay-per-view match card on paper, it is looking like one of the strongest WrestleMania lineups of all time. And that's why here today we're going to undergo what I would call, with the 15 matches that are on this show, the treacherous task of trying to list the correct order of which these matches should come. This is my order and my list alone. This is not what I think WWE would do, even though I think WWE is going to do this completely different. And some of the matches that I put on the main show are going to end up on the pre-show, and the matches that I put up on the pre-show are going to end up on the main show. And Lesnar and Reigns are probably going to main event. They are going to main event. That's pretty much a confirmation right there. I would not put it past WWE to do that. But of course, this is my list. If you have your list, make sure to comment it in the comment section below. If you have any differences, tell me, because I think my list is pretty accurate and it makes sense as far as the pacing for this show goes, because this is going to be a long ass show. You know what I say, anything in excess for a long period of time just becomes unenjoyable. I love wrestling, but sitting there for 7 or 8 hours straight, or however the hell long we're going to have to sit through this show for, it's going to be a treacherous task. So I'm going to try to pace this show out so it could flow as smoothly as possible. That's the goal here today. But of course, before we get into that, I just want to tell you guys real quickly to make sure to go check out all the other content on the Ringside Wrestling channel. There is, of course, so much other content to go check out. Just this past week, Monday Night Raw and Smackdown live reviews were uploaded. So, of course, if you missed those two reviews, make sure to go check them out. Smackdown Live, we talk about Daniel Bryan getting his WrestleMania match. We're going to talk a little bit about that here today, not too much. And, of course, Monday Night Raw, talk about everything that happened on there. Roman Reigns, everything that's going on Monday Night Raw as far as WrestleMania 34 is concerned. The John Cena Undertaker situation, of course, but that is besides the point. Make sure to go check out those two videos for now. Of course, if you enjoy what you're hearing here, make sure to like this video. And I don't know what you're waiting for if you have not subscribed to the Ringside Wrestling YouTube channel. Make sure to subscribe to the Ringside Wrestling YouTube channel. And it's very important you click at that notification bell so you can get the notifications for each and every single video. And you can make sure to come on here and watch all this content, everything regarding the WWE right here on Ringside Wrestling Entertainment. There's no better time to subscribe than now. Huge week of content coming next week, WrestleMania week. Preview and predictions for WrestleMania, preview and predictions for NXT TakeOver, review for WrestleMania, review for NXT TakeOver, as well as your weekly, regularly scheduled content on Monday and Tuesday, your Monday Night Raw and SmackDown Live reviews, your go-home shows for WrestleMania right there. Whatever content like what you're watching right here that we decide to sprinkle out as extra content throughout the weekend. Of course, regularly scheduled Behind the Mic. Speaking of Behind the Mic, that is coming this weekend on Saturday. So it's a huge time for content. It's going to be a busy week, to say the least, next week right here on the Ringside Wrestling channel. So there's no better time to subscribe than now. Make sure to click on that subscribe button and, of course, the notification bell, because for now, ladies and gentlemen, that's all I got for you as far as plugging my content goes. That's all I got for you as far as an intro goes. We're going straight into the match order for WrestleMania 34. And of course, we're going to start off with the pre-show here. And what I would start off with on this show is the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, or of course, like we call it here on the Ringside Wrestling channel, the pre-show Battle Royal. That's exactly what it is. And I mean, it's unfortunate. You got some great talent in this Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. It's already been announced, like you see on the screen there. Matt Hardy, Ty Dillinger, Baron Corbin, The Revival, Dolph Ziggler. That isn't talent that deserves to be on the pre-show of WrestleMania, but this is a huge show. This is a huge goddamn show, and I honestly don't know where I would put a Ty Dillinger or a Baron Corbin or a Revival. You really just gotta suck it up, because this is how WWE has booked them, poorly, and you gotta just hope that they do something better with them next year. That's really the situation that we're in here. There's no reason this Memorial Battle Royal should take up time on the main show. It's unfortunate for guys like Matt Hardy, who absolutely deserve to be on WrestleMania. I mean, it's disrespect to Matt Hardy, to say the very least. He was main eventing Raw with the Ultimate Deletion just the other week, and he's off of WrestleMania on the pre-show. It is straight, blatant disrespect, if you ask me. But that's just the law of the land. There's going to be those slaps to the face each and every single year. Not everybody can get on the main show. And it seems like WWE's initiative is to get everybody on WrestleMania's card. This is a way to do that. So I don't like the fact that the Memorial Battle Royal is on WrestleMania to begin with. I find it to be a stupid concept. And that's why it's on the pre-show. I don't want to see it on the main show. Should not take away from the main show of WrestleMania. We move on here, and of course, we go to the Raw Women's Championship match. Alexa Bliss versus Nia Jax. There's no way in hell I would consider this matchup a main show matchup. These two women, you look at it and you tell this is not going to be a good matchup. Alexa Bliss has not put on a good matchup since she faced Sasha Banks. Even her matchup with Charlotte was very underwhelming. Asuka, very underwhelming. Only two people she can realistically put on a good match with is Bayley and Sasha Banks. Nia Jax, only person she could put on a good match with is Sasha Banks. It makes you wonder why Sasha Banks and Bayley aren't the ones fighting for the Raw Women's Championship. But that's not the case. We were stuck with this matchup, and as decent as WWE has made the build, there's no doubt about that, this is not a matchup that I want to see taking time away from the Nakamura's and the Styles. This is not a matchup that I want to see taking time away from all the other fantastic matchups that, surprisingly, WWE has successfully booked on this show. There's no reason for that, and I don't want to see it. This feud gives me no interest whatsoever, and I hate to come across as negative about that, but there was a Raw Women's Championship that you should have gone with at this pay-per-view, and WWE failed to do that. So for that reason, I want this matchup on the pre-show instead of the main show, even though this is one of those matchups that I'm absolutely 100% positive WWE's putting on the main show because it's the women, and the women need to make the main show because all this women's initiative things going on right now. And I understand that, but as far as the build goes and the two women that are in this matchup, it's not the right women. It should have been Sasha and Bayley. That is a main show match. That is a WrestleMania match. This is barely a matchup that I want to see on Monday Night Raw, and that's the sad truth. Pre-show it is. For now, that's the final matchup I'm going to put on the pre-show. We move on to what I'm going to put on the main show, and one of the most important matchups on the main show is the first matchup. It sets the tone for WrestleMania, and that matchup is the Cruiserweight Championship matchup between Mustafa Ali and Cedric Alexander. Now, I know what a lot of you guys are saying. This isn't necessarily a matchup that WWE is going to put on their main show, and I doubt completely that WWE is going to give the Cruiserweights their time to shine that they need at WrestleMania if they're even on the main show to begin with. The only reason I see them making the main show is Triple H vouching for them. because since 205 Live has been taken under the grasp of Triple H has political say in the WWE, whether you like it or not, and he's going to fight for his cruiserweights, for his guys to go on the main show. But this is absolutely the matchup that needs to start WrestleMania, and it's because the cruiserweights have the most to gain from starting off WrestleMania, and not only do they have the most to gain, they have the most to give. This matchup between Mustafa Ali and Cedric Alexander could absolutely steal the show, and I know what that pops into some of your guys' heads. You're saying, well, you don't want the first matchup to steal the show. A lot of the matchups on this show could steal the show realistically. So why not start the show off with a bang? Just like WCW used to do back in the day. You start off your show with the cruiserweights. Everybody's booming. You want to start off WrestleMania electric. They did it perfectly last year with AJ Styles and Shane McMahon. You're not going to be starting WrestleMania with AJ Styles and Shinsuke Nakamura. Hopefully they do not. If that happens, I'm immediately giving up on this show's quality to begin with, but this is the matchup to start with to get everybody buzzing. Putting the cruiserweights in a position like this instead of sidelining them and putting them on the pre-show, this will bring attention to the cruiserweight division. It will make the cruiserweight division come off as something important, as something that you need to watch coming out of WrestleMania. If WWE wants to improve the numbers of 205 Live, there is no bigger stage that everybody is going to have their eyes on than WrestleMania. This is going to give the cruiserweights that spotlight that they've needed for so long, and it's finally going to work, because there's no way that you're going to put these two guys in the middle of the ring in a matchup and that is not going to get over. So many people have been saying that. Just put these two guys in the ring and it's going to get over, because you're going to have 80,000 fans watching this. There's no way. There's just no way that the in-ring caliber of Mustafa Ali and Cedric Alexander is not going to overtake every single thing that you see here. This matchup needs to start the show, and hopefully WWE wisens up to that fact. We move on here to the next matchup, and it has to do with The Bar defending their Raw Tag Team Championships against Braun Strowman and a partner. We don't know who that partner is. We won't know until this upcoming Monday. I'm guessing it's either going to be Samoa Joe, Elias, or a recent rumor, Dean Ambrose. But I'm sticking with Samoa Joe. Easy matchup. Braun Strowman, babyface, worked his heart off. Worked his ass off the entire year, and he's being put in a prime position at WrestleMania. You really were wondering, besides the Universal Championship matchup, what position Braun Strowman would have at WrestleMania. You were also wondering what position the Raw Tag Team division would have at WrestleMania, the Raw Tag Team Championships at least, because realistically there was no division to defend that Raw Tag Team Championship. The Bar was your only established team on the brand, so I feel like WWE came up with a nice noggin idea here. They used their brains a little bit, and Braun Strowman and Samoa Joe, hopefully, I think are going to claim the tag team championships. This isn't going to be too amazing a matchup, so it's, I would say, a small buffer between whatever is after Mustafa Ali and Cedric Alexander, because you're going to be a little bit burnt out to begin with after that matchup. It's a nice matchup, this one, to ease in to everything you're seeing at WrestleMania. It's exciting. Strowman's over. The crowd is happy. You're just keeping them on that happy train, and this is exactly the matchup to do this with. It makes it so you can have a nice pop for Strowman and whoever it is winning the titles, and you can move along quite easily. This isn't a matchup that should be following an Asuka versus a Charlotte or any matchup that was absolutely amazing on this card. This is a matchup that should be on the beginning of the show, and it should just keep the show running smoothly. So that's my idea for that. we move on to the next matchup to follow this one, and it is the United States Championship matchup between Randy Orton, Jinder Mahal, Rusev, and Bobby Roode. Now, this is a matchup that I was originally going to put on the pre-show because it sucked. It absolutely sucked, but this Smackdown Live happened, and that absolutely changed because now you have the inclusion of Rusev Day, and Rusev Day deserves to be on the main card of WrestleMania, and quite frankly, WWE's not going to leave this matchup off the main card. Randy Orton is in it. A 12-time world champion is not going to be on the pre-show. Neither is Bobby Roode. Neither is your SmackDown Live WWE champion last year for 7 months, Jinder Mahal. So this is the perfect opportunity to keep the show going with keeping the crowd happy, because this matchup is probably going to be pretty exciting. It's not going to be out of your mind amazing unless these performers pull something out of the bag that I'm not expecting, but it's not going to be an absolutely amazing matchup. Same thing with Sheamus and Cesaro the Bar versus Braun Strowman and whoever his partner might be. It's not going to be absolutely amazing. That first matchup kicks off the show, and I'm expecting that to be absolutely amazing. This kind of settles it down a little bit until you go into the next matchup that you're just absolutely pumped for. So this continues to streamline the show. On top of that, it keeps a nice balance, a nice pattern that I want to do here between Raw and SmackDown. This first matchup was 205 Live. You start with 205 Live, you move over to Monday Night Raw with the Raw Tag Team Championship matchup. Now we move over to the SmackDown singles title, and the next matchup, after Rusev, of course, wins the United States Championship, like I'm hoping he does, we move on to the SmackDown Live Tag Team Championship matchup. So you're keeping a nice little pattern there because you went 205 Live, Raw, SmackDown. Of course, we went SmackDown again, and then as you'll come to find out, a little bit spoilers for the rest of the list, we went Raw twice, keeping a little bit of symmetry there. But as far as this matchup goes, I'm hearing rumors that this is going to turn into a TLC matchup, Tag Team Championship Triple Threat match. Bludgeon Brothers, the Usos, who have been absolutely amazing as champions, no doubt about it, and as heels, amazing work. And of course, the New Day. I'm hearing that this is going to turn into a TLC matchup, and this is where you raise your expectations again if it does turn into a TLC matchup for the amazing. So again, keeping a pattern there, keeping the crowd stifled and excited because you had the amazing matchup of Cedric Alexander and Mustafa Ali. You moved on to two good matches that kept momentum with Strowman and the Bar for the Raw Tag titles and the United States Championship matchup. And then you move on here to the Intercontinental Championship Triple Threat matchup. So even with the titles, I keep a little bit of a pattern there because you go Tag Team titles Raw, United States Championship Singles title SmackDown, and then SmackDown Tag Team titles, then Intercontinental Championship Raw title. So it was like a little bit of a pattern there as well with the singles and the tag team titles that I did there. Quite on purpose as well, might I add. But we move on here to something that I find is necessary on the show from the Intercontinental Championship Triple Threat matchup, which again could be very good. Just before we mention the next matchup here, or not a matchup, but a segment, I should say. But this is going to be a great matchup again, so I'm a little worried that the crowd would be burnt out at this point in the night from the TLC ladder matchup, so I'm a little afraid at putting the Intercontinental Championship matchup at this point. But one matchup needs to take the fall, and I think if there are some guys who would be able to pick the crowd up despite them being quite burnt out and tired even at this point in the show, it is of course the Miz, Seth Rollins, and Finn Balor. I just remember just now before making this video, these guys had a triple threat match on Raw that you guys should go back and check out, and that was like a match on Raw last year that we saw and we were like, shit, that was a great matchup. If Raw was just based and you use your talent in order to make Raw a great show through matches, this is an example of what Raw would be. That's what we were saying after we saw this triple threat on Raw. We could get that same thing even better here at WrestleMania. So this could be a great matchup for the Intercontinental Championship. I'm expecting that to be a great matchup for the Intercontinental Championship. And from there, we move on to a buffer segment for Elias. Elias is not booked on the show. He doesn't need a matchup. Elias is entertaining as a character. I say you take advantage of that at WrestleMania. Have The Rock come out, have legends come out and interrupt Elias in the middle of the ring, a WrestleMania performance, have Elias do a WrestleMania performance. And this is something that is a buffer between the matches that will keep the crowd at bay. It doesn't tire out the crowd because they're not watching a matchup. They're taking a break from that. They're seeing something different. It keeps you entertained. It's a buffer in the middle of the show. And this is like quite exactly the middle of the show. I think there's like 12 matches on the main show. So I'm counting this as number 6, right in the middle of this show right here. So you have this entertaining segment, whether it's The Rock that comes out, whether it's Shawn Michaels, Mick Foley, Stone Cold, and have them do something fun with Elias, because this is going to be a little buffer. I'll call this the in-between point of the show, and this should be a very entertaining segment for us to move on to the serious main event caliber matches, and that starts with this. Asuka versus Charlotte at WrestleMania 34 for the Women's Championship. I would consider this the start of the second half of the show, and what better way to start than with the dream matchup, which I am expecting to be absolutely amazing. The undefeated Empress of Tomorrow versus your SmackDown Live Women's Champion, Charlotte. This matchup will deliver on all accords, especially if things go according to plan, is what I mean to say here. But, I mean, this matchup is going to bring it. People are going to be excited. People are excited for this matchup, and for that very reason, I want to put this at right after the buffer that is the Elias segment, just so the crowd can be hot again. The crowd can be rejuvenated after Elias's buffer segment, and you can invest yourself fully and deeply. You're not tired for Asuka versus Charlotte. You're ready for this matchup, and you can fully invest yourself into this matchup, and that's exactly what they need to put after that. And it's not too deep into the show either as well. It's only the 7th segment or matchup on the show, I should say. We move on to Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon versus Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. The reason I put this matchup here is because you need to put something after Charlotte versus Asuka that people are going to invest themselves no matter what. They're not going to be dead for it no matter what, because Charlotte versus Asuka is going to be quite a taxing matchup. So what can you put after it that nobody is going to get tired of whatsoever? Daniel Bryan versus Shane McMahon, or Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon versus Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Everybody, I don't care who, is going to react to Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon versus Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, and that's because of one man, Daniel Bryan. I mean, who the hell is not going to react to Daniel Bryan? The crowd, the arena will be lit with yes chants, and I hear some people saying that this should be the main event of the show. I mean, I can see why, because Daniel Bryan and his return is the biggest thing going on in the WWE right now. There's no doubt about it, but there's no way WWE is going to put this in the main event spot. I absolutely doubt it. So I'm not going to put it in the main event spot because there's a matchup that I think is more worthy of the main event spot. Most of you by now should know what that is, but we move on here to the next matchup, and that is Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar for the Universal Championship. There's no way this matchup would main event my WrestleMania. No doubt about it. This matchup is not going on last. That is the last thing I want to do. And my argument for putting this matchup at this place is that the crowd's going to be burnt out from Asuka and Charlotte and cheering for Daniel Bryan and maybe even the Elias concert at that point as well, and everything that we've seen before. So nobody's going to care about this matchup. There's no doubt about that. People are going to boo, whether they boo Lesnar, whether they boo Reigns, whether they boo both. They're definitely going to boo Reigns. I don't know if they're going to be booing Lesnar or not, but quite frankly, it doesn't matter. It does not matter. We know what the result of this matchup is going to be. I'm not impressed. The 80,000 fans in New Orleans, I'm sure, will not be impressed because that's the smarkiest crowd that you will get all year in the WWE. And it's better to put this match here and end this part of the show with boos instead of ending the entire show with boos, as it inevitably will if Roman Reigns is standing tall at the end of the show. Now, if WWE wants to turn Roman Reigns heel, it would be a more valid argument for putting that at the end of the show, because that would be a huge thing to end WrestleMania on. But even then, I don't want to see it. They can put on a great matchup, and I'm sure that they will. But quite frankly, I do not care about any facet of this matchup because it is predictable, and we can end WrestleMania with a far better match. I think you guys know what I am talking about. For now, we move on to the next matchup here that I would put, and to follow this one, again, the pattern, we went from that mid-half break that I was talking about to Smackdown with Asuka and Charlotte, Smackdown with Shane, Daniel, Sammy, and Kevin, and we move on to Raw with Reigns and Lesnar, and we move on to Raw with Rousey, Triple H, Kurt Angle, and Stephanie McMahon. This matchup is going to evoke a reaction. It's going to be the big press matchup for WWE at WrestleMania that's going to get all the casual eyes to the event. Ronda Rousey's a big name. She's a big draw. So you're going to have to put this matchup somewhere near the end of the show because it's a big matchup. It's like one of the main event matchups. This is a matchup that some people are arguing that this should be the main event. Now, I don't want it to, just because of the fact that Stephanie McMahon will be able to say that she was the first woman to main event WrestleMania, and that is something that I do not want to hear her brag about for weeks on end on Monday Night Raw. That sounds absolutely god-awful. And for the fact that this is simply going to be an entertainment matchup, Triple H and Kurt Angle cannot go as well as they used to. Stephanie McMahon is no in-ring competitor, and Ronda Rousey is green as all hell still. She is nowhere near a Fasten's performer as far as in the ring goes. So the fact that Ronda Rousey is even in this position is something that she is very lucky for. Her past success in the UFC has gotten her here, and hopefully she can shine, but I mean, realistically, this matchup won't be anything special if you think about it. So I'm putting this matchup here just because of the name value it has alone, and for the fact that this could be a main event of WrestleMania if WWE really wanted to put it there, but it's not the best thing to go with. I really don't have much thoughts about this, but it is one of the main event matches, and that is what I would put in this position. To follow it up, of course, we would put John Cena versus The Undertaker. Now, assuming that this is a career versus career match, then you have a valid point for putting this in the main event. You really, really do have a very, very valid point for putting this in the main event, and I wouldn't mind it. Now, this matchup, you can make an argument for both men being past their primes. Undertaker well past his prime at this point, to the point where he is making it look like he's retiring at the past WrestleMania. We don't even know if this matchup is going to happen officially yet. From what I'm hearing, Undertaker isn't even going to appear on Monday Night Raw next week to build towards this matchup with John Cena. John Cena is going to be at WrestleMania, and Undertaker is going to show up, and they're going to have this matchup. If that's the way this is going to go, then I don't care for it. It should not main event WrestleMania. But if you are going to put Undertaker's career on the line versus John Cena's career, then this matchup is totally worthy of going in the main event. But if not, it goes right here, right before the main event, or actually two matches before the main event, because there's one matchup I would put after this, or before this, and it is once again a buffer. It is a buffer in the women's Battle Royal. This Battle Royal is absolutely meaningless to me. It means nothing, and it is going to be something for the crowd to pretty much lay back on, just like WWE did last year, very smartly enough, at WrestleMania 33, before the main event of Roman Reigns versus The Undertaker, oddly enough. They put a Smackdown women's title match, which was like a six-pack challenge or whatever. Nobody cared about it. And it was going to go on the pre-show originally, but WWE put it in a smart position, a buffer before the main event, because everybody's dead at this point. They need something to recuperate, something that nobody cares about. What better position to put this match in? A buffer before the main event. That's exactly what this women's WrestleMania Battle Royal could be. You can get some good storyline out of it. Put Sasha and Bayley in there as the final two. Have them beef in the Battle Royal, all that good stuff. Center the Battle Royal around them. Maybe have Becky Lynch win it. I don't know. Do some good stuff with the Battle Royal. Tell some good stories. And move on to what is the actual main event. Have everybody refreshed. Since it is a Battle Royal, give it a nice 15 to 20 minutes to just cool everybody down before we go into the real main event of WrestleMania 34, the WWE Championship Match in Shinsuke Nakamura and AJ Styles. There's no other matchup that should main event WrestleMania 34 when you're talking about what is the best matchup that you are going to have on WrestleMania this year, when you're talking about the matchup that no one will be able to follow on this show, when you're talking about the matchup that means the most on this show, there's no other matchup that can go against Shinsuke Nakamura and AJ Styles. They're going to deliver to you at least a 5-star match. They are going to deliver to you a matchup worth calling a WWE Championship main event matchup. It's the safest thing you can go for. Both men are incredibly over. You're going to end WrestleMania, whether AJ wins or whether Shinsuke wins. You're going to end WrestleMania with a pop. It's not the most predictable matchup. You can still see AJ retaining. It's for the WWE Championship, the most prestigious title in your company right now, no doubt about it. And realistically, AJ versus Shinsuke, this is the dream matchup. What have you been clamoring for since WrestleMania 33? Since WrestleMania 33 went off the air, AJ versus Shinsuke in WWE. Why the hell wouldn't this be your main event? It would be an absolute mistake to not put this matchup in your main event. And I don't see WWE putting it in the main event. Like I said, I see WWE putting Roman and Lesnar in the main event. I absolutely disagree with that. Absolutely disagree with that. This is the matchup that should go there. And if it doesn't, I'll be disappointed. But, hey, it's not like I wasn't expecting it. Only other matchup that goes in this place is, of course, like I said, John Cena versus Undertaker, if it is not for the WWE Championship. But that is my list for what I think should be the match order at WrestleMania 34. Tell me if you guys agree with what I said on this list. Of course, in the comment section below, I am very adamant that that should be the official match card for WrestleMania 34. It was well thought out with according to some symmetry throughout the match card as far as the defensive titles goes, and putting buffers in the middle of the show so the crowd can cool down, and making this show, which will inevitably be a torturous 7 hours, because anything for 7 hours straight is going to be torture. You don't want to do anything. You don't want to watch anything for 7 hours straight. It is just too much. But that is besides the point, because for now that is going to be all for this video. Make sure to go check out all the other content on the Ringside Wrestling YouTube channel. Big week coming next week. No better time to subscribe. Smash that subscribe button, because for now, this has been Joel Perez of Ringside Wrestling Entertainment. And for now, I am out of here. Thank you very, very much for watching this video. I will see you next time right here on Ringside Wrestling.